Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Council and Committee for the Town of Petawawa to order for October 27th, 2025. Welcome to members of Council, our staff, and of course, all the members of the public who are with us here this evening. We'll begin this evening's meeting with the reading of the land acknowledgement, and this evening it's Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Omama-Wanini Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Omama-Wanini people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's 94 calls to action. Call to action number 73. We call upon the federal government to work with churches, Aboriginal communities, and former residential school students to establish and maintain an online registry of residential school cemeteries, including, where possible, plot maps showing the location of deceased residential school children. Recent progress. Supported by, with Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada, the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation continues to develop the National Residential School Cemetery Register.
Thank you very much. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of this evening's matters? Seeing none. Okay, then we'll go to our public meeting, which is why everyone is here this evening. So first, I'd like to call this public meeting to order. And I will introduce the application. It's a zoning bylaw amendment has been initiated by the Town of Petawawa to update the zoning bylaws provision for backyard chickens. And now I'll request the planner to confirm that there was a notice of the public meeting.
Yes, we did issue notice of public meeting as per the Planning Act. Because it's a town-wide amendment, we did not mail out a notice was as we typically would, but it was posted on the website as per the Planning Act.
Thank you. And I'd like to request if there were any written comments received regarding the application.
Yes, we received a response from Enbridge Gas. They did not object the application, but they reserved the right to amend or remove development condition. No other public agency comments were returned. There were also comments from the public has been received to the date. Liz Wheeler from Secondhand Stories. She's saying, I'm the co-founder of Secondhand Stories, a registered non-profit rescue and sanctuary located in Nevito Lakes, Ontario, devoted exclusively to the rescue and lifelong care of chickens. Since 2022, we have provided sanctuary to over 3 dozen special needs hens and roosters, many of whom were abandoned after backyard chicken program in nearby municipalities failed to account for the complexity of the care these animals require. We would like our correspondence to be documented as an objection to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment 456/07 and the proposed standalone Town of Petawawa backyard chicken bylaw. I'm writing to share our organization's frontline grassroots perspective and raise urgent concerns as your municipalities consider implementing a backyard chicken bylaw based on our direct experience with the outcome of such programs, including those piloted in the Toronto and Smith Falls. We believe strongly that without comprehensive planning, enforcement, and contingency measures, this bylaw risks significant consequences for public health, animal welfare, and municipal resources. Highly pathogenic avian influenza continues to spread across Ontario, with over 30% of cases traced to non-commercial backyard flocks. The World Health Organization, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and the Ontario Public Health have all expressed concern that backyard hens may serve as vector of zoonotic transmission. Participants often lack the training, supplies, or biosecurity protocols required to prevent disease spread, putting neighbors, pets, and vulnerable community members at risk. Our sanctuary has fielded thousands of surrender requests from overwhelmed backyard chickens owners. Most are not equipped for the reality of long-term care, veterinary accesses, or flock management. There is a persistent misconception that chickens are low-maintenance animals, when in fact they require predator-proofing, species-specific nutrition, enrichment, and prompt access to avian veterinary care, resources that are either unavailable or inaccessible in most regions. Moreover, enforcement and animal protection frameworks are inadequate. Chickens are not protected under the provincial animal welfare services, act in the same way as dogs or cats. Few veterinarians in Ontario accept chickens as patients, and the Ontario Veterinary College recently closed its avian and exotic clinic due to budget constraints. Without licensing, inspection, or mandatory education, municipalities have little ability to monitor whether animals are being properly cared for. We are particularly concerned about the absence of contingency planning. What happens when an owner wishes to surrender their hens, abandon them, or is found to be in violation of the bylaw? Where will these birds go? What budget exists to ensure humane outcome for animals that are no longer wanted, injured, or in distress? As one of the only chicken sanctuary in our region, we are already operating at capacity and cannot absorb the burden these programs create. The Ottawa Humane Society does not accept chicken, nor does Illinois Animal Welfare Services. Programs of this kind have already been repealed in municipalities such as Toronto, Ottawa, Hamilton, Waterloo, Cambridge, and Peterborough, many of which cited the same challenges outlined above. In each case, these decisions were informed by consultation with public health units, animal welfare experts, and enforcement agencies. We urge your municipality to take a cautious and evidence-based approach. If the goal is to support food security or community resilience, we recommend investing in community gardens, plant-based food access initiative, or educational programming, none of which carry the risk posed by introducing farm animal into urban settings.
We also received a letter from a resident, Rebecca Thorne. Dear council members, I'm writing today as a resident of Petawawa to show my support for the proposed amendment to backyard chickens. To some, it may seem to be a new trend, but to the majority who support this lifestyle, no, it is much more than that. It is a real way for us to commit to better sustainability, hands-on education for our younger generations, and a healthier way of living. And we can do all that right in our neighborhoods. By allowing small, well-managed flocks of hens, we can help people within our community who struggle with food scarcity during these economic times. The letter has 4 points to bring to council's attention. Number 1, a better way to eat, local food and sustainability. Keeping hens means we get to enjoy a direct source of fresh, high-quality eggs every single day. To some people, this could be the only source of protein they can afford. By allowing this program, it greatly reduces our dependency on big commercial farms and cuts down on pollution spent transporting eggs. It truly is the ultimate local food source. Number 2, environmentally friendly, pest control and less food waste. Chickens are wonderful beings who help us reduce food waste because they will gladly eat scraps that would otherwise go within our landfills. Petawawa is also filled with ticks and slugs, and instead of spraying our lawns with harmful pesticides, chickens are the natural pest control to help combat. With a child who contracted Lyme disease in Petawawa when she was 6 years old in 2015, I see this as a huge positive step to help combat a growing problem. Number 3, boosting well-being, routine, and connection. In the world of high stress, many people have found therapeutic benefits from caring for chickens. The predictable behavior of a small flock, with their gentle sounds and bonding to their owners, it can provide some with calming and grounding effects which help to lower their anxiety and stress. The daily routine of needing to provide care provides a strong sense of purpose and structure, which is invaluable for mental health well-being and reducing feelings of loneliness. With our community being shaped by mostly military members, this is an important aspect to consider. It truly is a form of therapy for many. Number 4, good for families, education. For families with young children, raising chickens is a great opportunity for hands-on learning and responsibility. Kids get to see where their food comes from and care for their chickens, while building connection with nature right in their own yard. Chickens are friendly, social, and can become entertaining pets. I do know that this amendment comes with concerns for the neighborhoods like noise and smell. The positive is that these are easy to solve with simple common sense regulations like prohibiting roosters and limiting the size of flocks. Proper care and policies set in place to protect the animals can also address cleanliness concerns, all of which are already within the amendment being presented. I think a thoughtful, somewhat regulated program for backyard chickens is a huge win for our community of Petawawa. Lots of our surrounding communities allow chickens, and it has been very successful within them. It supports sustainability, helps the environment, and improves our community members' quality of life. I really hope you'll consider integrating this beneficial practice into our town bylaws. Thank you for your time and for your consideration on this amendment. Rebecca Thorne, Petawawa resident.
Okay, and now if you could briefly explain the purpose of the amendment.
The town of Petawawa is proposing a town-initiated amendment to zoning bylaw 456/07 to update the provisions relating to backyard chicken. The purpose of the amendment is to update section 3.3.14 backyard chickens to reference the proposed standalone town of Petawawa backyard chicken bylaw, as the regulation of backyard chicken is proposed to be addressed primarily through that bylaw. The amendment also clarifies that the minimum distance separation formula may apply to the keeping of backyard chicken and related structures in accordance with the provincial guidelines.
And now can you please explain the appeal process?
There is a 20-day appeal period for this application. However, recent changes to the Planning Act have altered the appeal rights. Zoning bylaw amendment may be appealed only by specified persons, public bodies, and the registered owners of any land to which the amendment may apply. Since the proposed amendment applies across the municipality, any registered landlord within the municipality may appeal the decision of council as it pertains to the zoning bylaw amendment. The standalone bylaw cannot be appealed to the OLT as it is passed under the Municipal Act, not the Planning Act.
Thank you. Okay, just before I ask members of the audience to come up to the microphone and have your chance to ask questions or make comments, I'll just let you know that there is a 5-minute maximum when you come to the mic to take your turn. It looks like we have a lot of maybe interested residents who may want to speak this evening. And apparently there's a ball game on later. I don't know, but if you can keep it under 5 minutes, that would be great too. So if there is anybody in the audience that wishes to come up to the microphone and comment or ask questions, I just ask that you raise your hand, come up, and then just state your name, and then you can go into your questions or comments. There? Yep.
So my name is Richard Hoskins. I've been raising chickens for 5 years. I produce between 4 and 7 dozen eggs a day, and I'm sold out by 10 o'clock in the morning every day. So even though that every single flock would be in direct competition, I fully support. There's a couple things within the bylaw that I'd like to bring to council's attention that I think need to be addressed. Section 4.9 prohibits the sale of chicken products as well as the hens themselves. The sale of hens should not be prohibited as it's an effective and common practice for managing flocks. So 2 examples there is a resident is no longer interested in maintaining a flock. What can they do with their hens? They can gift them or they can sell them rather than dump them on the side of the road. The other thing that's common in our community is a deployment or health issues. Maybe they need to temporarily move those birds on. And if you're prohibiting them from moving them on, they're going to find other ways to get rid of them. So the recommendation there is just remove hens from that statement. The sale of eggs and manure and or meat is prohibited. Section 4.12 prohibits the slaughtering of hens, which is also assumed to mean in this context the culling of birds that are sick or injured In my mind, I'm seeing this as like an emergency veterinary situation. A dog has got a hold of a bird, a kid stepped on its wing, and it's in serious pain. Culling is often the most humane and reasonably effective course of treatment for a seriously injured bird in that manner. Timelines, availability, treatment options, even for qualified vets, can be limited. And there's also a reasonable limit on the cost an individual can pay for emergency care. So the recommendation here is just remove the slaughtering hens is not on the property is prohibited. Remove that part. Leave the remainder of the statements, has to be disposed of through approved sources and vet care and all that other things. You don't necessarily need to specifically state that culling is permitted. In section 3.2.2, you prohibit, it's currently written as prohibiting hens less than 4 months of age. I assume this is a control measure to prevent the 50-50 chance with hatching eggs coming out as a cockerel that'll grow into a rooster. However, this limits the best option for establishing a calm, well-adjusted, friendly, and compatible flock with the urban environment, which is obtaining day-old chicks. So besides many local options, Frey's Hatchery, which is a major Ontario hatchery, this is their 2025 price list. 14 of their 15 laying options are auto-sexing, means that you can order hens only. There's no risk. There's always a risk, but there's no risk of ordering a cockerel that'll turn into a rooster. Plus you get the developmental benefits of raising from day olds. The last thing I'd like to bring up is a little bit more in depth, and it's all based on the definitions in 1.1 and 1.2. What is considered the boundaries of the town of Petawawa? If we're talking about the whole entire area that the county deems Petawawa, or the settlement area, could have two different implications on various components of the bylaw.
We meant the entire municipality.
Okay, so in the extent, it's my understanding the purpose of the bylaw is to enable residential properties the option of backyard chickens, with larger residential properties having a greater number of chickens. Therefore, it should not limit or affect the current authorities granted to rural zone properties within the animal control bylaw. Okay, animal control bylaw 6.2 permits class 2 animals in any zone besides residential, commercial, or industrial that's larger than a quarter acre in size. This has been in effect and working well, to my understanding, for the last over 20 years. It does include common sense care practices. So to frame this a little bit, an example, imagine that there's a fictional 10-acre rural zone, but not a farm property on Black Bay Road. Currently, they have 20 laying hens for personal use with a rooster for flock protection. In actuality, between the zoning bylaw and provincial regulations, they could have 100 layers and they would be fine as long as they weren't selling them within the community. Section 7.3 of the proposed bylaw supersedes the animal control bylaw. Section 3.1.4 states that the regulations set out in this bylaw do not apply to the farm or the rural properties that greater than 5 acres, 12 or 5 hectares, 12 acres. 3.3.2 states that no more than 12 backyard chickens will be permitted on rural properties less than 5 hectares in area. So what these three things are essentially saying is that all rural zone properties, as well as all farm properties less than 12.35 acres, are only permitted a maximum of 12 laying hens. This, therefore, in our fictional 10-acre property way out on Black Bay Road, they're going to have to take 8 of their layers and their rooster to the vet to be euthanized and disposed of. There's a massive policy gap between 6 chickens on typically a quarter-acre residential lot and 12 chickens permitted on 12.35 acres.
Richard, I'm sorry, but your time is up.
So I do have some recommendations based off of that I've communicated to Councillor Driscoll. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Anybody else interested in coming up and making your comment? Yeah, come ahead.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Laurent. I was the one that brought basically this presentation to council in May. Rick's obviously done a lot of research in this, and good on him. He kind of picked away at my points. So the only one I have is powers of the officer. Officer may enter at all reasonable times upon the lands to ascertain whether the provisions of this bylaw are compiled with and to enforce and carry into effect the provision of this bylaw. My concern is under what grounds? Having been a police officer, without reasonable probable grounds, can't go anywhere. Without a search warrant, can't do anything. So that needs to be reframed to better speak on that, because somebody comes on my property without me knowing, I have an issue with that. So that needs to be reframed somehow and articulated better.
What section was that? Yeah.
Section 6.4. And the other thing I have is the fine schedule is like right out of left field. I'm gonna say it right on, when we're paying 10 times the amount of the dog and cat issued fines, there's a problem there. Dogs are more prone to get escaped than probably chickens. When I'm paying $200, $300, $400, $405, that doesn't make sense to me. So there probably needs to be some rethinking there on that. That's fine schedule. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else who would like to come forward and ask a question? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Council. Hi, Mark Mendichkos, Petawawa, and where I'm fifth generation settler ally. I appreciate the town's acknowledgement that we are on traditional Mindanao territory. I'd also like to pay homage to the fact that this community was born of immigrants who did raise chicken and livestock. Now, I come from a little bit of a different point of view. I'm actually a farm in Petawawa. Yes, there are registered farms, and I think that there needs to be a little bit more, as my Indigenous friends would say, nothing about me without me. You have a large audience here that seem very keen to participate, and I think that we should take advantage of that. You have something here, and full disclosure, I've had the pleasure of working with Melanie before on tough projects like this, where you have to make decisions that are not going to make everybody happy. But you have the basis here of a really good bylaw that could set the example. Now, I've provided to Mr. Carmody 11 recommendations after reviewing your bylaw. And the last three are kind of what all of it pulls together about, which is correctly implemented, educating, and taking the time to mentor those who wish to have these birds is going to be the key for the success of this. We can debate over the cost, which I would agree. Looking at I did some benchmarking, and the fines are pretty high. The disposal of the birds, there's some questions around that. Even down to definitions, I think you need to take a better look at what is a farm in the town of Petawawa, because I know what I am, and I'm a farm. But if you say a 12-acre rural plot that decides that they're going to have goats and sheep is a farm, you really set yourself up for chances of failure and higher risks, and understanding that. Biosecurity is an issue that is growing. How are we going to support those who wish to do this? Making sure that they have the right amount of education and the support from the town without it becoming taxing. At that end of life, as we heard from one gentleman, that's correct. How are we going to educate to make sure that there's an effective way to have chickens? So I've got 11 recommendations that I've documented and passed along, giving you references out to other areas, municipalities, acts, regulations. And I think that a smart step forward here is to have a larger conversation with these people that want to have birds safely. This is about making sure that our neighbors also are part of that, us having birds, right? Good neighbors sometimes is just good fences, but having that conversation is going to allow for this to be perhaps even a showcase of what a good bylaw could be for other municipalities to enable people to have fresh eggs every day, to be able to compost on their properties, to share that with their neighbors and enjoy that. you know what it's like to be able to crack an egg first thing in the morning and see it high in the pan and beautifully really yellow, and know that that was something that came from your property. Now think back when we first got here as settlers. That happened because it was a means to be able to survive. You have an opportunity, council, to be able to make sure that that again is the tradition that's brought forward and that we can do it successfully. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to further support as needed.
Thank you very much. Is there any other audience member that would like to come forward and make a comment? Okay. Thank you, everyone who came forward, and everybody else for coming here as well. It's important that you exercise your democratic rights, and this evening you had your chance to do so. Even if you didn't speak, just by coming here shows that you're interested in what's going on in this community. So we thank you for coming out. Now I'll open it up to questions from members of council. Councilor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate everyone's input that they've put into this. I think it's been a long way to get here, and I think there might be still some work to do. I will just re-say essentially what I said in this last meeting. There's certain things I like about this bylaw and things I don't. I still disagree with the registration fee. I think we've been doing a decent pilot project for the last several years on rural lands. We haven't had any issues, especially comparative to other animals we have in town, such as cats and dogs. I also believe the fine schedule is a little high. It should be comparable to dogs. I understand we haven't done the dog one in years, but I think they should be done in tandem if we're going to do anything, because to have one over top of the other doesn't seem right. I would like to hear more about the staff's opinion on Daniel's comment about bylaw enforcement onto the property and what staff's justification was of that, why that is in there worded out the way it is. And totally agree with Richard on the day-old chicks. I believe I brought this up at the last meeting as well. People aren't just going to buy ready to lay, and I think we have to understand that. I don't want to make a criminal out of everybody here who wants to have day-old chicks, and they're going to do it whether we say they're allowed to or not. So there should be, if they do have a rooster, if they don't buy them from a farm that can auto-sex them, then they have a certain time frame they have to get rid of the rooster, like they would have to in other municipalities, or there is a fine schedule in place if they keep it longer. So I'll open up the rest of the council, and I'll make talk again later. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councilor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I'd just like to thank the speakers for coming tonight and raising some very valid points, and for having this conversation, because I don't think, well, with the exception of Councilor Driscoll, nobody at this table raises chickens, so it's really nice to have some expertise brought into the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Coutu.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I want to thank everyone sincerely for coming. The point about chicks, I think I heard for the first time tonight, the comment that it would help with the socialization of the flock, and that was sort of a new thought for me. So I'm so glad that we had the benefit of this meeting and that we can go back to and create a bylaw that works in practice. To Councillor Carmody's point, it takes experts to create an informed policy. So my comment is thank you, and please keep up the engagement and keep reaching out with information so we can do the best we can. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Sabri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely learned a few things tonight. Thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts and some of your recommendations. I appreciate the comment around dogs and cats and the fine schedule, that kind of thing. I know I read in here that and we need to sort of look at some of the fines with respect to number of offenses within a year, that kind of thing. I think we have a bit more work to do on that. I'd be open to getting a bit more feedback on that. And I mean, I live on Doran Road, and I walk through many of the subdivisions with some pets, and there are a lot of people with chickens, and I hear them, and I don't see them. They don't seem to be a problem, so I know they're out there, and I think having some rules that don't handcuff us but allow us to do what we want to do in a respectful manner is really the aim of this policy. So I'm certainly open to hearing what we're going to do with these important comments. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so again, thank you very much. Oh,
I don't know if that was out there. I just have a
I,
one. Thank you so much for acknowledging all of that. Truly, it is nice to hear that there is someone on council that understands what is happening with these animals and what it takes to raise them humanely, but also that you're open to hearing that and learning. It's appreciated greatly. I have a quick question on the number 6. I'm curious, are you guys able to provide?
I'm sorry, but the time for public discourse is past.
First time.
But if you have another question, you can leave it with us or email
Yeah.
all of us. And
Love that. Thank you.
we'll look after it. Thanks. Now I've lost my train of thought. Again, thank you all for coming. And the information that we have learned here this evening is fantastic. We definitely understand that this is a draft process right now, and it's great to get this feedback. So now we can take everything we've learned this evening, go back and tweak a few things, and then come back with a more fulsome and finalized bylaw. I've never heard the term autosex before, so it was good to learn that you can buy a day-old chick and already know what the gender is. We've heard that we should make a separation between backyard chickens in a more urban setting and backyard chickens in a more rural setting. Definitely we'll take a look at what our wording means in terms of how these bylaws are going to be enforced, especially when it comes to individuals' private property. And many of the other suggestions that we've heard here tonight, we're definitely going to go back. Our staff will discuss it, and then we'll try and come forward with something that fits everybody's needs. Those who want to have backyard chickens and those who may be living next door to backyard chickens. We have to make sure we respect everybody's properties and everybody's rights. So thanks again for coming, and we'll look forward to bringing something back to you, and hopefully it will satisfy everybody here in the town of Petawawa. And now I'd just like to request the planner to explain the next steps, please.
So the town staff will be compiling all public and agency written and verbal feedback and seeking council direction on how they wish to proceed. If members of the public would like to be notified of council's decision, they must make a written request to the town. The sign-in sheet has a box to check if you would like to be notified.
So that was the sign-in sheet at the back when you came into the council chambers. And now I'll declare the public meeting closed. So thank you again. If you're not a baseball fan, you're welcome to stay. We have another hour and a half of non-stop excitement. We'll give you a few minutes to clear out and then we'll carry on.
Are you good, Gary?
Okay, welcome back. We're going to carry on our meeting with the Fire and Emergency Services Monthly Activity Report for September. Welcome, Acting Fire Chief Craig Brew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, members of council. For the report for September, as per comments, the Acting Deputy Fire Chief attended a EM 200 course in Pembroke on the 3rd and the 4th. On the 17th, was the launch of the Community Emergency Preparedness Grant, which we put in for. And on the 17th, again, the fire department, we had a management meeting. On the 20th, we submitted the fire protection grant for the second year. On the 29th, we received confirmation that the mental health support for public safety personnel grant application was a success, and the grant was in the sum of $25,000. For instance, we had a call for flooding from an overflowing sink. The water got into the basement through the drywall. On the 21st, we had a smell of smoke on the 25th on Edward Street. We had another smoke in the area of Noble Crescent, but it was due to a maintenance on a snowmobile. And we had a CO alarm on Armstrong on the 4th due to steam in the shower. For fire alarms, we had 4, 2 at Victoria Street, 1 in Chad, 1 in Mary. For bonfire complaints, we had 1 on Rempler Street on the 21st, and Pine Place on the 15th, and Garwin and Acre, and those are pending further investigation. For training, our crews completed auto electrification on the 9th, 11th, 18th, and 25th. We had specialty training for the pump ops course on the 14th, 21st, 27th to get our personnel certified for the upcoming mandatory certification this July. For vehicles, there's some undercoating, small repair in the classroom door and the septic pump at station 1 and 2. For equipment, we just had small repairs on a pump. For fire prevention, we had 32 inspections for the month. And for residential smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms, we had 34 that were residents that were inspected, and it brings us up to 222 for the year. For the inspections, we had 16, which brings us up to 188. The recreational burn permits, we started with 946 and we ended with 940. And that's my report for this evening.
Thank you, Craig. Questions on the fire report? Congratulations on receiving the $25,000 mental health grant. That's great for our department. And I just had one question on the burning with no permit. Do you get a warning the first time, or is it a fine the first time? How does that whole?
That depends on the situation. So we would be looking at a couple things with the burning, depending on if it's a person's first time or they're newly resident. Like there's a bit of leeway, but it depends on the situation.
Okay, thanks. No other questions or comments? I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that the Fire and Emergency Services Monthly Activity Report be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Craig.
Have a good night. Thank you.
You were almost under the 5 minutes, yeah? Next up, we have the Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Monthly Activity Report for September. Colin Coyle, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here with the September monthly report to be accepted as information. In September, we've had staff out looking for additional trails out in the Black Bay area, looking to expand what's potentially out there to offer more programming. As far as our seniors are concerned, they're looking for more and more, and our staff are keen to offer it to them, so they were out doing that with a few of the seniors. Over the course of September, a few meetings. One was in collaboration with Pembroke and Petawawa in the hotels managers meeting. Further discussions on that, potential partnerships and growth to be seen there. We were requested, working with Quality Inn as well. And myself and Ellie met with influencers that were hired from Choice Hotels, which Quality Inn is part of, to take these influencers out on a paddle around the shipwrecks and off the islands off of Petawawa. So it's an opportunity. I don't know if you saw it on Facebook and Instagram, that sort of showcasing how great Petawawa was, and it's been getting really great feedback from it. Also had 2 seniors activity advisory committee meetings leading up to National Seniors Day. We also had the opportunity to have a meeting with the Kinder Connection, and we're looking at putting together a formal agreement with them for the next year as well to actually formalize. To my knowledge, we need to build something up that sort of outlines what exactly is the agreement between the town and that group. And last for that section, we started and finalized a small recreation survey following up on the master plan. And we opened up the survey for public response. So we're collecting, now that we know we want more youth programming, we want more seniors programming, we're trying to fine that down a bit to the exact programs that are requests from these groups. As you can see, this facility was inspected and approved by the Renfrew County District Health Unit for use. That's the kitchen that's over to everyone's right. The kitchen downstairs is no longer being used and is no longer going to be used for future planning. So we're looking at changing that over to storage area. As many of our facilities, just like this one, we need more storage area. So that's a big step for us to be able to have them. And as you can see from programs and events over the course of September, we had successful programs for family and continued on. Something new that Joe developed, taking the concept of, I know you've heard me talk about the Cooking It Forward program. This was cooking with family and children's services. So this was with adults with various disabilities. And there's opportunity for them to come in, and each week they made 5 meals. So that gave them 5 meals for the week. Joe was just over delighted and is excited to see this program happen again, as many of the participants were. So that's another check in our hat for us. You can see as it continues on, some of the active programming, the introduction to Kijong, the hiking programs, and then the Silver Threads Salk. We continue to see the Eccentrics and the Stronger You have high attendance, the Bid Euchre, and many of the other programs. So a huge thank you to the staff, Rhiannon and Joanne, that run this place to keep it going as well. And over at events here at Silver Threads, we had the open house and a meeting, part of the tour with MVP Deneau as he made his tour of the various salts and areas. So it was great to have him here to see what we offer. As far as rental activity, we finally started to ramp up the arena. So you're going to see the hours increase over the next couple of months as they starting off here, along with the banquet hall and various programs and events that happen over the course of the facility. And flipping over to the outside, as the weather changes outside, you can see the decrease in field activity. So we only have a few games left outside as the weather starts to change. So you'll see that decrease drastically. And then the current, for the current month, just a few highlights. We just saw the Ramble 2 weekends ago. We had 3 events as part of the recreation department, which all went really successfully. And I'll talk about those in more detail in next month's report. I just got back last night from the Toronto Sports Show, which is ATV, snowmobile, and motorcycle show, which is a huge success. It was also a collaboration with the Laurentian Valley and the Quality Inn, as we have really developed our outdoor adventure sports, and now we're taking a focus on the motorsports, because the Algonquin Trail, being part of the RAP tour, seeing a huge increase across Ontario in the ATV and motorcycle rides, being part of Ride the Highlands. We're taking a focus on not just the outdoor, but now the power sports side, to bring more people in, that they're staying at hotels, going to the gas stations, going to restaurants. That's great for our local economy. We see that, and we had a great response. We actually had a council member from Petawawa in the late 90s that I had a very long conversation with, other people, locals, and many people who had been here before and plan on coming back and staying at the hotels and love the area. So it's great to hear that in person, and the turnaround was great. So I'm very excited to how that went. And last but not least, Ellie is off in Ottawa right now at the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario conference. So that's something for a rural community to be at the big table and learning more. It's a great opportunity. So I'm glad she was able to make it, because after 3 weeks straight right now, I think I'm a little tired to be trying to retain that much more information. And that's my report for the month.
Thanks. And I'll just send this out there, but I was driving by the Time Traveler Inn on the weekend, and there must have been 30 side-by-sides and about 50 people in the parking lot of the Time Traveler Inn. So they obviously came from somewhere to Petawawa to enjoy the trails that we have here. So maybe all the advertising was paying off. Okay, I'll open it up for questions from members of council. Councilor Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When does the rec survey close?
I believe it has closed.
Okay.
Just with everything changing over, we haven't had a chance to compile everything of the data taken in, but I should have that ready for next.
Oh, yeah, not worried about that. I was just wondering if people were still eligible to.
Yeah, this isn't going to be a one and done. This will definitely be as we get more information and find programs and times and locations to suit all these, we'll do more digging.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments on the report? Councilor Coutu?
Thank you, Mayor Service. I just wanted to share with you comments that I've heard from the community about the town staff at the Ramble and how helpful and enthusiastic and engaged they were, and just from my own experience too. So big kudos to you and your whole department, because I don't think that event could have gone better at the Ramble, but specifically Farm to Trail. Or sorry, yeah, Farm to Trail.
And on that note, thanks again to your staff and Civic Center staff for all the help and assistance with the Algonquin Trail. And couldn't have done it without all the assistance.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to them.
Any other questions or comments? I just have a question about the hike, pines, and dine.
So that is a Rhiannon. She is taking active components that the younger seniors and some of the older seniors are looking for, is to do program that's outside of this facility. So there's been a few ones. There was that particular program where they were for a hike and then came back here for sort of like catered meals. There was also the chocolate one as well, I believe. Teresa had participated in that. Rhiannon's creative, so we're trying to find very much in the same way of some of the events and programs that we would do at the Civic Center, mimicking them here. So just trying to find creative ways to get people active, but everyone knows food and drink bring people out in droves. So we're just sort of taking advantage of that, so to speak.
It's like hanging a donut on a string. And,
yeah, very much. And it works. It works. People are really enjoying it.
Okay. Any comments or questions? All right, then I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Root, second by Councillor Donovan, that the Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Monthly Activity Report be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have REC-04-2025, the Recreation Facility and Rental Rates and Fees for 2027. Colin.
Thank you. So I'm looking for a recommendation that council reviews the attached documents and provides direction to staff regarding the recommended percentage increase rates that can commence as of January 2027 regarding the various facility rental rates and fees associated with town-owned facilities across the municipality. The fees would include a percentage increase in various areas, not limited to ice rentals, arena rentals, baseball, soccer fields, room rentals, and special events rates. Furthermore, recommendations following in areas within rates and fee structure be implemented as of January 1st, with most increases affecting in 2027. Additionally, staff is recommending that other rates increase and commence to be the calendar year to coincide with the municipal budget. As far as the background for the rates and fees, the rationale behind the recommendation is to update rates as well as creating an unbiased and consistent increase with regards to the facility and rates across our municipal recreation spaces. These proposed changes are based on a review of comparable community fees, operational costs, facility usage trends, and the need to ensure long-term facility sustainability and service quality for our residents. In 2024-25, there were no major increases to any of the facility or rental rates. This should be factored into the decision to select the increase for 2026 and 27 for a full rate update. With following discussion, the following documents will outline the various recommended increases based on a 3 to 4% increase of various rental rates, facilities across the town of Petawawa. Note that certain rental rates are currently on par with other comparables. For this reason, the recommendation is certain fees remain at the current rate. Rates in certain portfolios are new to the rate fee charts and therefore open for discussion. Additionally, additional areas require a complete rate change to ensure costs are being recuperated. Below, you're going to find subsidization of recreation facilities. In rural communities like Petawawa, subsidization rates, recreation has always been an important way to ensure everyone has equal access to facilities and programs to help support a healthy, active lifestyle. Without this support, users' fee would become too expensive for families, youth, and seniors, or those on limited incomes. Historically, the town has provided subsidized rental rates that are typically on par with the average municipality in Ontario, as well as local municipalities here in Renfrew County. The table below provides an overview of average subsidy rates in overall recreation field, depending on a facility. The table clearly shows that in each area of recreation subsidized and prioritized depending on the user group. Priority and higher subsidization rates are given to youth sports, including school usage. Municipal funding ensures that facilities remain accessible, especially for our youth and community groups. As you can see in the table, typically, then this is not just here, but right across Ontario and primarily everywhere. Pools are subsidized 70 to 80%, arenas 60 to 80, community centers 50 to 70, sports fields 40 to 60, meeting rooms 40 to 60, and fitness centers 30 to 50% subsidized. Recreation spaces are more than just places to play. They bring people together, build a sense of community, and support local sports teams, events, and programs. Subsidizing these services help keep it accessible to everyone, while making Petawawa more attractive to potential new residents. It's an investment in not only health and well-being, but the long-term strength and livability of the town. Key factors to the subsidized level. Smaller towns often subsidize more due to lower user volumes. The facility age, the municipal recreation goals, including municipalities prioritize accessibility for youth, seniors, and low income, and revenue recovery targets, including looking at a 30 to 50% guide for pricing. This will factor into the programming and other planning areas. As far as financial implication, the financial implication will influence the 2026 and 2027 recreation budget, as well as planning for future development of additional facility growth. If we go back to the last couple of pages, the rates and fees chart for 2027. The white blocks indicate that there will be no additional increase. The green blocks are a monetary increase instead of a percentage. The yellow is a 3%, but that could be a 3, 4, 5, or 10% increase. The red areas are looking at a 20 to 50% increase. The gray blocks, recommendation to remove these from the rates and fees charts. And the orange areas are for new areas where a new rate has to be decided. In the white area for ice, you can see on the right-hand side, the highest fees are looking at a $208 to $150 here in Renfrew County and comparables. We're currently sitting at around $209, so we're on par. So looking at potentially no increase for 2027 or a small 2 to 3% increase to catch and stay online with comparables so that we are staying online with everyone else and trying to keep that subsidized rate. We're looking at, if you make note to the Renfrew County District Reciprocal Agreement, those two numbers are flipped. I don't know, just an error there. The highest is the 10108 and 7280. And for the school board, that's 50%. So they're paying 48.39, and this has been a primary sort of focus for this council is to have those youth rates kept really low in our agreement with the Renfrew County School Board. Keeping all those going with small increases. In an increase of 3% in the yellow areas, so school tournaments, longer hall tournaments, and rental rates for the hall as well. The recommendation for the green areas, including public skate, doing a 3% increase on what is $3 to go up to $3.09 does not seem tangible. It doesn't really help our budget at all. The recommendation is to go up by $1. As far as I know, I don't think that has been increased in my 16 years with the town. I think it is time that there are certain areas to go up, instead of going by 3%, is to go up by $1 or 25 or 50% to try and stay on par and help to keep our budget healthy as well. Other areas, arena floor rentals to go up with a 3 to 5% increase. The orange area for large event rentals, there is only the one column. These are compressed numbers from if we were having to shut down the entire recreation facility, civic center grounds, that this is basically a collective numbers of what we would be potentially losing. So that would be renting every soccer field, every baseball diamond, the floor at the arena if we were to host a very large event, and ensuring that we, if we are going to turn away or not allow baseball or soccer to occur, that we're not taking a loss at offering a rental of the entire facility as a random number of $1,000 when that could have brought in $5,000 for the town. And in addition, not providing recreation for our residents. Looking at a 3% increase across for community halls, we are really low in that area across the board. So we can see that for the size of our hall and what we offer, most halls, it's the hall. You're responsible for setting everything up, providing any additional spaces. We have a fully functioning kitchen, so we're our services exceed what is currently out there. And then removing the youth rate, it's not something we offer due to children typically for ice and things along those lines. We don't have those options during the day. We've had a youth rate for using the hall for many years, and it's not something we have. That would be typically a zero rate for school usage. I don't think we're going to have school kids coming in to use the hall. Those would be parents renting it. So we have the rate, so I'm suggesting we just remove that rate. In speaking with a few of the ball organizers, both softball and baseball, I've talked to them about doing a 50% increase. You can see our rates currently at $17.93 an hour. The lowest comparable is 30, and a normal rate is about $45 to $50 an hour. Increasing it by 3, 5, 10% is not going to help us to catch up and be on par. So I'm recommending in those two areas for ball and athletic fields to have a 50% increase. Response from those two groups were they were on board with it and surprised that we haven't raised them to be on par with the other municipalities. So they are open to having those rates increase seen. In the same fashion, seeing a $1 increase in mini putt fees per age group. The tennis courts and pickleball courts, I'm currently working with that group. They're their only group that pay us a percentage, so we're looking at an hourly rate that would be on par with the use that they're currently paying us. So I just finished discussions, and we're going to go back in a few weeks to meet with them again to go over their budget to find what that hourly rate would be that will work for that group. As well, we've just have the new rates for not the volleyball court down at the point, but the courts that we just added a new one and have upgraded the ones at the Civic Center. So we're trying to recuperate so we can keep staff on those, have them raked and not just sitting there as it would do the beach volleyball that's down at the point. We're looking at a increase from $19 an hour to $75 for weddings and uses down at the point of the hall and the gazebo. That would be comparable to, that would still be low in comparison to other locations trying to rent an outdoor space like that. By the time we factor in staff going down to open up gates, set out tables, things like that, we're probably actually taking a loss at $19 an hour, sending staff down to do that. This would help keep us more on par. The equipment rental, we have already had to unfortunately start removing some of the rentals from offering to the public. It's also, there's numerous businesses locally that already offer that service. Many of our tables, tents, all these things going out to the public. We're competing with local businesses on top of, we can't keep up with the damage that comes back. So the recommendation is to remove those completely from the operations side. It's not a large revenue. We're probably spending more money fixing what's damaged and not having it ready for our own town events and programming. So the recommendation is to remove those. Keeping on, we're going to remove the half season from day curling. It's not something that we have picked up. Most people are, because it's such a small offering, we do have single use, so you can come in and play once a month if you want, so drop in, or the full year. And that rate is still a comparable rate. And then other factors to consider for the rental boats and stuff down at the point. Those we've increased. I think we started many years ago, $5 went to $7.50 in the town. So we'd like to keep that on there with not going with a 3 or 5% increase. Recommended to keep them as they are. And when we get to the point where we need to raise them slightly, go with a $2 or $5 increase. We're still well below. As far as I know, the closest place that does rentals is probably the Ottawa area. That's not part of a lending hub, and they're at about $40 an hour. So we're still significantly below areas that are in comparables. Another recommendation is looking at recuperating the labor fees at coming out at a total of the 3013. As I had mentioned before, looking at not having staff set up all the rooms. If a wedding wants to come in and save some money, they can set up the tables in their own configuration. All the tables and chairs are there. But when we start to provide staff, that pulls down what was a $400 an hour rental and recuperating that 30 if they want an exact setup. If something is leaving the site for a setup at a wedding down at the Centennial Park, adding on an hour or two to that rental rate to recoup the staff, because not only are we providing staff for a private event, but additionally those staff are no longer cutting grass, lining fields, so it's actually putting us behind and creating, probably having to pay overtime to catch up where we're supposed to be. So if we can put it to these private groups, businesses and families that are renting it, that they have the choice to set it up themselves, or there can be an hourly rate if they would like it set up. So that would be a new addition for this year. And then the advertising, our last factor would be to leave the cost as is. We are comparable. We're only one of the few offering digital advertising like this, and it seems to be slow. So I think increasing the rates would not be something that would have people come further forward. And that's the full report for the rates and fees going forward in 2027, giving a year prep time to work with all the groups to get them to the point where they need to be to accept those rates.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a lot to unpack there. So questions or comments from members of the council? Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With relation to the subsidies for different facilities, are we in line with these? Obviously not for the pool, but.
Not for the pool. We're probably pretty well online on average. To give you an idea, I don't have the exact numbers, but from Ontario facilities and stuff like that, with the age of our facility, you're looking at about $400 or $500 to run the arena per hour, and that's 24 hours because you don't turn the refrigeration off like a light switch. We're on par, so those we are subsidizing right on par where we should be.
Okay. I do like the addition of the equality around large event rentals. That's great. I'm glad to see that that's there. Is North Canoe rental. Is that a brand?
It's a
Or
style,
the-
so that's the
Okay.
6 and 8 person canoes that we
Oh.
had years past through the designation of the Ottawa River. We obtained those through that designation.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. And then just one quick question under labor. I didn't quite understand how you broke it down. Staff wages added, 10 persons equals half an hour, 20 is in 10 staff people?
10 staff, so if there's a larger event, I can think of an example, the rodeo that was here.
Mhm.
It took a lot of staff hours moving fences, setting up garbage cans, setting up additional fencing, the cleanup after that event. It's great to bring these events to town, but it's at the cost of the taxpayers because by the time we factor in the rental fee, we're not really generating very much revenue because those staff, as I mentioned before, that are dedicated to tractor use, the Molochs being filled, all these other items. And we're basically giving the staff time in for free. We're probably not really generating any revenue at all. And then on top of that, those staff are not there doing their regular job. And to catch up, we're probably having to bring in staff that were off at time and a half to catch up where we should be.
Right, okay. I like that. Thank you for the information and the breakdown on that, and certainly support a larger increase on that.
Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for asking the canoe question. Appreciate the answer. So when you're looking at public skates, I see the increase. If it's going to be, for example, Tim Hortons is sponsoring a public skate. How does that get determined? Is it based on like 100 participants, therefore they'd be charged?
So that would be just a rental. If it's a Tim Hortons skate, Tim Hortons is renting the ice. They're offering it for free. If the town has a general public skate, where like we already have free skates on Wednesdays and Fridays, this would be really only the Sunday skate where we have a true free skate.
Right.
That it's a small increase to sort of recuperate the staff hours that are the ice monitors and all those other things. That's also an increase we haven't seen in probably over a decade.
Yeah, got it. Okay, thank you. And just to our quick observations, I think it's really brilliant to take out the rentals for tables, chairs, and that kind of stuff. I think they get damaged more that they're loaned out for a pittance. So I think that's really exciting. I am quite torn with the one of the benchmarks of the quality and customer service that we've known at the Civic Center is the tremendous assistance from the staff in setting up for events and things like that. And I think starting to charge per hour, might sort of take away from some of that. I understand the concept behind it and whatnot, so I'm still a little bit torn with that. I don't know that if it's, maybe we could come up with just a flat rate, $50 or something like that, or whatever, but at any rate, I'm just a little bit torn with that, but I appreciate all the other increases for the reasons that they're being suggested. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councilor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Colin, because this is something I think it has to be done and really monitored. I think our rates are the best in the area for what we offer because we always go over and above offering all these extras. For those large event rentals, are we charging enough?
Currently?
Yeah.
Honestly, no.
No, that's
where there are events because we don't have a past practice to work off of, and that's what I'm trying to currently develop.
Yes.
We're probably running at a loss.
Yeah. So, yeah, is there a way we can correct that? I think that should be, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to propose.
Yeah,
is just
because
looking at that.
when we do those big rentals and that's costing the town and the taxpayer, that's not right. That's not right. And I've been after that for years and I'm glad to see this come forward because I want to offer everything we can to our community and our taxpayer, but we got to make sure we're covering the cost there too. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Coutu.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thank you so much for all the thought and work that went into this. Just sort of building off of Councilor Roots' point, I'm just wondering about the ball diamond adult tournament rate. I noticed that before we had a very competitive rate with the suggested rate. I noticed that we would be maybe a little higher than some other areas. Is that sort of a factor of the quality of our fields and the cost it takes to run it?
So we're one of the few that have lit fields. There's
Okay.
also many municipalities locally and in comparables that have additional fees for lighting. We don't.
Okay, gotcha.
We're also one of the few that they're lined by staff. They're also irrigated fields.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The grounds are probably graded every day. So there's a lot of tender work that goes into it. And I would put those fields up against any major municipality as well. So I think to get to the point where to keep those fields in those kind of shape where people want to come here versus other communities for those fields, to keep it going, we need to have them at a rate where we're at least trying to recuperate and stay on par with that suggested rate of for subsidy.
Okay, that makes complete sense to me, and it sounds like we'll still be competitive because of the quality. Okay, thank you.
I would say if you drive anywhere in Renfrew County and even beyond that and compare all diamonds, I think we have the best, some of the best in Eastern Ontario, probably, in terms of the grass and the fields and the lining, the fence, the scoreboards. Further questions or comments? Councillor Carmen?
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for the report, Colin, and everything seemed pretty reasonable to me, and it did kind of cross my mind, though. I wonder if the old Stomp Festival factored into your
It's not
considerations.
just that, it's something that being in the last year in this position and looking at those numbers and having a business of my own years ago and thinking of, okay, it's great to have the best fields and the lowest rates, but we need to be realistic as well to make that sustainable long-term. We need to charge something that, even though we're subsidizing, I don't think we want to subsidize fields at 90% or more, or 95%. We need to make sure that we have the funds there moving forward to keep them at those rates. So I really do think it's a long-term smart move. So it's given me the chance this last year to really start looking at some of those events to be like, if we're going to treat our fields and that for our local residents, if we have people coming in from outside to look at it, like, we need to cover our costs.
Thank you.
And I think when you're talking about ball diamonds, if they're going to hold a tournament, we have teams coming from outside of our community. Whoever's running the tournament can adjust their tournament fee to adapt to the new rates. Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Colin, I think everything does look reasonable. I mean, increase always will raise an eyebrow or two from people, but I mean, the cost of everything goes up. We do have beautiful sports fields. For curiosity, what would it cost us to maintain a field for one day, like a ball diamond?
I'd have to do some digging on that with Ted and some of the staff. But the amount of lining and irrigation and everything that goes into it,
sure.
I'd have to do some digging on that one.
Okay.
But it's more staying on par too. And as I said, when I spoke to two of the ball organizers, they were pleased that our rates were so low, but they completely understand and surprised we waited this long to
100%.
raise them.
No, 100%. That would be something interesting if by budget time. It would kind of be nice to have an idea of like what does it cost us to maintain, to keep it at the standard we're at, because like I don't want to deviate from the standard we're at. So
no, risk and liability wise, having everything at a pristine place, there's no ruts. But I can look into work with Ted to find what the average cost would be.
Awesome, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, thanks, Colin, for all the work that went into this. I just have a couple of questions. So I'll preface this by saying I was down in the Nepean last weekend, and I went to a local park, and there were brand new tennis courts, freshly paved, bunch of pickleball courts. They had no gate on the courts itself. It had like a 12-foot wide just gap in the fence on each side of this, and a sign that said, you know, use it, it's free, use at your own risk, and if there are people waiting, make sure you only play half an hour, and then let the next people on. So what I'm getting at is the tennis courts, the pickleball courts, I like the fact that if the club wants to book time and hours, or if somebody wants to book a tournament, I understand we should charge for that because you have exclusive use of it. But if if a dad and a kid walks by with a tennis racket and a ball, I just feel that they should just be able to walk on it. If there's nobody there, then go and play and use the court. It's very difficult for us to monitor and police people just walking on. It would be the honor system, I guess. They would have to come in the Civic Center, pay, and then go out and use it. So I would like to see us, especially for sports like that, and for lower income, and the fact that anybody in our community can just walk on and play tennis or pickleball, and the same with the beach volleyball courts. It's just another facility that would be hard to monitor, hard to police. There's no fence, there's no gate. It's just beach volleyball courts. And if two kids come in shorts with a volleyball and they want to bat it back and forth, I think it's a little tough to, you know, say to two 10-year-old kids, hey, get in the Civic Center and pay your $14 to use this beach volleyball court. That's just my opinion on that one. The rental in the hall with bar service is $445.51. Does that include liability insurance, or are we asking our groups to also go out and get additional liability?
So there's two ways of doing that. We are asking them for insurance, especially if there's bar services involved. Depending on the event, it's something that they can get through their homeowner's insurance. Or we are now working with the town's insurance company that they can purchase insurance through the town that goes back to our insurance company.
And do you know approximately how much that would cost?
It's not for the hall rental off the top of my head, just because it's going to matter how many people, what kind of event. There's many factors. Working with Chris from our insurance company to look at that, but to give you an idea, like I think when I worked with 3 different groups for hockey to get insurance, it was an additional $6 a game.
$6 per game. Okay.
So that was something that all these groups thought it was going to be thousands of dollars to get insurance, and it equated to not a lot. It's the equivalent of the one more rental over the course of the entire season.
Okay, I think it would be good to include that in our pricing chart, to say hall rental, bar service, plus additional insurance. And then somebody renting our facility could say, okay, this is exactly how much it's going to cost me for one whole day or for a whole weekend tournament with insurance included. Because I've heard some comments about, you know, people see the fee and then they come in to book it and then there's additional insurance on top that they weren't aware of or didn't know. So I think it'd be important to include that in our fee schedule, just so everybody knows this is what I'm going to pay and this is what I'm getting.
I can probably get a range. I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah,
give
as long
an
as
exact.
Yeah, comment there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll touch on, I totally agree with you on the tennis, volleyball and pickleball. And then on the insurance, can you just explain to me, so if we get the bar service, proponent's not running the bar, fundraising is, so they have insurance, we have insurance for the hall. Why does the proponent need extra insurance because the bar is open? But they're not the ones serving the alcohol.
They're still responsible for the people in the facility. So even though there's many factors that come in, it's not just the alcohol. Depends on the event. I've seen fights happen in weddings in the Civic Center that with family members. So there's more than just the alcohol. So things do, depending on what they're doing in the event as well.
Okay, but I would agree with that. I'd like to see it on the schedule because I know people who have rented it for a hockey event and then it's like, it is an added cost that they weren't expecting essentially. So I think that would be a good, to at least have a range of, or some examples of normal, like, you know, if you want to run a one-day hockey tournament, on average, this is what it normally costs. So at least you can plan that into it before you make the jump, tell everybody you're going to host a hockey tournament, then you find out it's going to cost more, so.
And it's also the, I'll call it the annoyance factor in having to call your insurance company and find out what it would cost me to do this through my own insurance. It's a lot easier if we do it through ours and, you know, as long as we cover the costs of doing so. So with the added insurance to our rates, are we still pretty competitive with the rest of the municipalities around there? And do they include it in their rate or do they do it additional like we do?
So most places it's up to the user. Some places aren't charging or aren't ensuring that insurance is purchased, which puts the risk back on the host. So I don't think this municipality wants to take on the risk of saying we waive your right to purchase insurance, that puts all the risk onto the town.
Yeah. Okay, and just as Deputy Mayor Sabrin said about the labor fee, I know we've always been known as a community where if you come and rent certain parts of our facility or run an event, our staff has always been amazing. And I get where you're coming from. It is a lot of work and it takes us away from our regular responsibilities. I see a complication in terms of where do you draw the line? So if there's a soccer tournament for kids and our staff goes out and puts out 10 garbage cans and that's all they do. Do you charge for that or do you wait until it's?
That would be, so that's proposing more for like the special events and rentals. So that would be built in for soccer and everything else. It's more along the lines when we have larger events that's the above and beyond. So if they need our staff, that's when they would be needing to pay for it.
Okay.
We're recommending that we charge for it instead of giving it away for free.
So like the rodeo and stomp and other large for-profit events.
Or stuff that's going off of the property, because that means we have to bring in more staff, say to set up a wedding down at Centennial Park. We only have 2 staff working on evenings and weekends, and that's when those things occur. So to have, if there's a ball tournament on, having to bring in extra staff to go down and set up a wedding because those 2 staff can't leave the facility because they're tending to the Civic Center grounds.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. And one last comment, I noticed there's a price list here for ICE logo, and if somebody wants to advertise.
Yeah, advertising.
That all comes back to a naming rights policy, and I know we've been talking about putting together a naming rights policy and ensuring that what we're charging is proper and everything we're doing in terms of advertising and putting people's logos on our property is above board. And I know we're working on it. I'm just wondering if there's a schedule for the naming rights policy.
That's something I'm gonna have to bring back onto my desk. It's something that I'm gonna have to relook at. I know it was brought forward with some of the priorities I need to put forth before I can get to that one. But it is still on my desk, yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, so we have 2 separate motions here. Mary?
Up to what council wants.
Oh, up to what council?
It's up to what council wants, but given that there's some discussion here, I think maybe the second motion that Don presented for you, maybe council would like to defer some of the 2027 rate and fee structure comments that we've received tonight and have Colin come back and bring back. There's an insurance question, there was a labor question. So like, we don't have to decide the 2027 rates tonight.
Okay.
What I'm saying is there's a fee recommendation there for 2026 rates. Potentially that one would be one I would suggest for sure. But again, if council wants to proceed, it's up to them. But I just feel there was a few comments made here tonight that Colin could come back to council with an updated report.
Okay, so I'll start then with the rate increases that are potentially beginning in January 1st of 2026. So it lists for the following categories at the prices indicated. It includes the public skating going to 4, 3, and 10 for adult, youth, and family. The mini putt going to 4 for above 14 and children and seniors, and children under 14 and seniors 3, and group rate minimum 8 people for 2. The wedding gazebo rental $75 hourly, and the evergreen stage rental $75 hourly. Did I capture everything I need to there, Colin, for January 1st?
Yeah, and then the removal of the gray areas for 2026 as well.
Okay. Should I put that into the motion?
Yeah.
So if I said removal of gray areas on pricing schedule, does that capture everything I need to say? Removal of gray areas on pricing schedule. That's okay?
Yeah.
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Colin, that's good? Okay, if you're comfortable, I need a motion for that section. Moved by Councillor Root, second by Councillor Coutu, that council authorizes a rate increase beginning January 1st, 2026 for the following categories at the prices indicated. Public skating, adult $4, youth $3, family $10. Mini putt, youth and adults 14 and over, $4. Children under 14, seniors 65 plus. I thought I was a senior at 50. Only at Shoppers, not for mini putt. $3. Maybe we should, I don't want to suggest a friend. Group rate person, minimum 8 people, $2. The wedding gazebo rental, $75 hourly. Evergreen stage rental, $75 hourly. And the removal of all gray areas on the pricing schedule. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And we'll save the 2027 January 1st increases for further tweaking. Okay, next we'll go to REC-05-2025, reciprocal use of facilities agreement with the Renfrew County District School Board. Oh.
The recommendation that council accepts and adopts the attached updated reciprocal agreement with the Renfrew County District School Board pertaining to the shared use facilities. In 2015, bylaw 967/15, the town of Petawawa and Renfrew County District School Board entered into agreement regarding the shared use of facilities. This agreement pertained to the use of each party using the other's agreed upon facilities at no cost or at an agreed upon reduced rate. The following are the updated and amended sections of the agreement as to be agreed upon by council of the town of Petawawa and the Renfrew County District School Board. Section 2, the town will have priority use of the following board facilities during summer months, July to August, Monday to Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and weekends, but excludes holidays and maintenance projects. Those being A, Pineview School Gymnasium and additional spaces as listed in the permitting system. Herman Street Public School Gymnasium and additional spaces listed on the permitting system, as well as the C, Valor School Gymnasium and additional spaces listed on the permitting system. Section 4, A to C, the board will have use of the following during the school hours. Town Civic Center Arena at a 50% reduced rate off of youth non-prime time, Monday to Friday, 7 to 4 p.m. The town sports fields and softball fields, excluding tournaments, at no charge during non-prime hours, Monday to Friday, 7 to 5 p.m. The town's tennis and pickleball courts, excluding tournaments, at no charge during open hours, Monday to Friday, 12 to 5 p.m. Section 5, B and D, will observe the rules set for the community use of schools as listed on the board website. And D, will be charged no rental fees during community hours, Monday to Friday. On weekends, there will be a custodial fee of 50% reduced rate off the hourly custodial rate. Section 6 will be arranged through the authorized by the town's Recreation, Culture, and Tourism departments, and the bookings are to be made by email. Section 9, each party shall provide general liability insurance coverage in the amount of $5 million against liability that may arise through the use of the facility owned by the other party. Each party will have the other named as additionally insured on the policy. Additionally, each party shall name the other as additionally insured on their policy. Section 10, this policy will be reviewed yearly and updated every 5 years. At this time, there is no financial implications. And you will find the current agreement attached.
Okay, thanks. Questions or comments from members of council? Councilor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Colin, out of curiosity, how often do we use the school gymnasiums?
So that was the amendment, the first section 2. We're looking to use that more. Currently, we have started using that more with the growth of programs. Why those 3 names are schools are named and those hours is to allow us to start using them for camps. The agreement in the discussion with the school board was that we will potentially move from school to school, depending on their construction project. So if Pineview is in construction in the first 2 weeks, therefore we'll use another school and move around with their schedule to be as flexible as possible. So we're looking to, in the past many years, I think when I looked at it, the school board was getting about 95+% of the agreement, and we were getting about 5. I'm looking to try and equal that out, not 50-50, we'll never be at that capacity, but to really start using the schools, their grounds, classrooms, cooking spaces, and primarily gymnasiums to get out there more.
Okay, so like say, you know, say the pickleball people want to play pickleball in the gymnasium, can they rent it out? Or say a minor baseball team wants to get out in the spring and use the gymnasium, can they rent that to the municipality to go use it? Or
It would have to be a program put on through the municipality, through this community use of schools. They can go rent it on their own, and if it's a youth program, they get to use it for free.
Cool.
So currently, if we are running right now pickleball programs for adults and seniors, and will be, so that's an opportunity for us to use it for free. So that'll keep the price even lower for versus a group renting a facility if they're going through the town with staff.
Go for it, nice.
Further questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Simon.
Just a comment about the use of the schools for the summer, for the day camps. That's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Because we are struggling sometimes with the increased capacity of our summer programs to find facilities, and we have these ready-made facilities. And I understand what you're saying. Every summer, the school gets emptied and cleaned, so if there can be some kind of schedule where, you know, Herman Street gets cleaned first, and then we start, you know, using that and allow them to clean the other gyms. Yeah, awesome. Any other questions or comments? I did receive a bit of feedback from some members from the school board in the field allocation. So it makes mention of our field allocation policy in the reciprocal use agreement. And there's section 6.0 where it lists the priorities on the priority list. And right now the schools and the Board of Education is listed at number 5 in the priority list.
I'll have to look up at that for the school use agreement with Field 4. That is a different.
Yeah, and they were wondering if they could be, if it was possible for them to be moved to number 3 in the priority list. Just based on their league, you know, soccer league and rugby league play and ultimate frisbee and all that sort of thing.
I know we were working with the school board and Valor primarily to ensure that we still have the fields are being booked. Is our primary concern. And then it still leaves us room for maintenance as well on the facility side with civic properties.
Yeah, and they understand that the tennis courts and the pickleball courts are booked by the club in the morning.
Yes.
So that, I guess their question was they would have to then work through the club for days that it wasn't being, so the club has booked them, but maybe they're not going to use them. And if the gym class wanted to come over, they would contact the club directly.
So if they're using it, which they have in the past, they've been in contact with, I believe, primarily Paul Jones. If they so choose, if the club, tennis and pickleball so choose to instruct the group during their time, that's completely up to that group to do it during their time. If they want to use it on their own, they can use it as part of between the hours that the club's not using it, between 12 and 5 for general use.
Okay, and I guess my last question is this final draft that's being presented to us this evening, I know that the school board was involved in making this draft. They sent representatives to help. Has this final draft that we're being presented here this evening, has this been shown to the school board for final feedback?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's been discussed with the school board. It won't be presented to the school until council has passed it and has signed off with the school board.
Right on. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, then I have a motion here, if you're comfortable with that. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that council accepts and adopts the updated reciprocal agreement with the Brantford County District School Board pertaining to the shared use of facilities as presented. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay. One more column. REC-06-2025 Municipal Accommodation Tax Revenue.
So this one will be a little bit shorter. The recommendation that council endorses and adopts the recommendations of municipal staff and the Ottawa Valley Tourism Association with respect to the allocation of revenues generated through the municipal accommodation tax, directing that such funds be utilized and support recommended tourism and recreation related initiatives. As far as the background, the municipal accommodation tax was implemented by the provincial government as a revenue generating mechanism to support tourism, culture, and community initiatives. The MAT is a fee charged on the cost of accommodations such as hotels, motels, and inns. As of January 1st, 2025, Petawawa introduced the MAT rate at 3% and applies to stays of 30 days or less. The tax is not charged on long-term rentals, student residences, or emergency shelter accommodations. Under the legislation, municipalities that chose to implement the tax are required to share at least 50% of the net revenues with an eligible tourism organization, such as a destination marketing organization. The town has entered into such agreement with the Ottawa Valley Tourism Association, who can act as that ETO. The remaining 50% of funds will be directed by the municipality to support municipal priorities, such as recreation, cultural programming, and tourism development. It has been estimated that the potential revenue to be generated by the collection of the MAT annually could be between $180,000 to $200,000, which would be split between the town of Petawawa and the Ottawa Valley Tourism Association. At this current time, 6 months, 50% of the annual MAT has been collected so far, with the town's portion exceeding just over $47,000, which is consistent with the projections made. The recommendation from staff is that council review the recommendations to allocate the recommended. The expansion of Canada Day programming, 10% of the budget. Expansion of Civic Center Days activities, 10% of the budget. Expansion of potential new tourism events, 10%. Special projects, and this can be more than just these three listed, but as examples, wayfinding signage, accessible bike programming, partial support of a skateboard park or pump track. Additionally, staff propose that the remaining funds, 30 to 40%, generated through the MAT be used for marketing and promotional tourism initiatives to further promote Petawawa as a destination location for outdoor adventure-based activities and additional adventures. Marketing and promotional initiatives can include, but not limited to, further trade shows, social media advertising, video and photography content development, or other like-minded initiatives. The OVTA recommendations for the 50% that they acquire. The OVTA will be releasing an RFP to secure a tourism consultant to facilitate engagement with the Petawawa tourism community and develop a marketing strategy. Implementation plan for 2026. This will take place between September and December 2025. They have allocated a budget of $20,000 inclusive of tax from the Petawawa MAT funds to complete the consultation and strategy. Community consultation process will help to inform how the funds will be allocated through the implementation plan. They currently have the budget broken down into the following categories with percentage of funding spent, but this may change pending on feedback received during the community consultation and strategy outcomes. Marketing and advertising and promotions, product development, new experiences, itinerary, route development, media relations, and industry development. As far as financial implications, Petawawa's financial implication regarding the above recommendations have no direct impact on the current tax base, as the funds being used for the following expenditures will be funded by revenue generated through the MAT from the previous year's collection.
Okay, thanks, Colin. This is really starting to look like it was a good idea. Before I open it up for questions, just one question for clarity. And under the OVTA recommendations, it said there's a budget of $20,000 for the tourism consultant, and it says we have allocated.
That's they. That's in their budget. That was sent from Melissa. So that was copy and pasted straight in from them. So that 20,000 is from the 50% that's given to the ETO. They're going to take 20,000 out of the potential 90 to 100,000 to hire that consultant.
So of the 47,000 they've received, because we received 47, they're taking 20,000 of that to do the consultant. Okay, I'll open it up. Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Colin, thank you. Yes, I think the MAT tax is a very good thing for us, and it gives us some winding room here for sure for spending some funds. I definitely would like to see some go into that wayfinding project that was discussed from the get-go, that this would be available for the wayfinding. There's a pretty good price tag onto some of our signage that does promote tourism in our town. So I'd like to see a pretty good portion go to that. That's just my comment. Thank you.
Thanks. Deputy Mayor Savage?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like the expansion of candidate programming. We've been working on that same budget for a lot of years, and our community is growing, and consequently so have expenses, civic center days as well. Expansion of potential new tourism events. I think it's probably more potential new tourism events. I don't know how we expand on something that is potential, but that 10%. Now, the 30% for the examples, so you're saying that these are examples for special projects. So when you say special projects, do you mean sort of community projects? Do you mean one-time only projects? Do you mean just want to get my head around that?
So that could go to offset anything that council wants to move forward with, or projects that are come forward from staff. It could be a one-time to offset complemented grant. It could be 10%, 5%, 20%, or the full 30 to 40% to go towards a lot larger. It doesn't have to be. Those were just examples that I know came up in either our last master plan or community discussions.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I appreciate that. And so you'll just be, we'll have that amount set aside, and then you'll just be bringing forward recommendations as they come up.
Exactly.
Perfect. I guess my only, so additionally, staff proposed remaining 30 to 40% generated through the map and used for marketing and promotion activities, of which OBTA is also marketing and promoting this, right? So it's kind of like 50% plus 15 to 20%. I'm just wondering if we should look at, and I'll be interested to hear other council members, if we should look at actually reducing that amount and reinvesting more in some of the programming we already do in some of the areas. I mean, kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but we've got some tri-tested true and some deltas to make up. So I'm just sort of wondering about cutting that down and putting them into the actual events. So that's just my thought. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll agree with Murray and Teresa on some of the things, the special projects. I would like to see the wayfinding signage get paid for through this. I think it is going to be a substantial cost. And I think this would be a good way to offset us, so the taxpayers not putting the bill for the whole thing. Well, until we know the full price of it, this is a good way to spend that as far as I'm concerned. And then I agree with Teresa too on we're spending more money, doing the similar thing to OBTA. I would just like to see that reinvested back in, because as far as I'm aware, OBTA is supposed to be doing that for us, but they're 50%. It's a little interesting. I find out that they need to hire a consultant for tourism when they are a tourism association. But actually, why would they need a consultant for that?
That would be a question for Melissa.
Okay, interesting. But yeah, so I'd like to see mainly the wayfinding signage getting paid for through this. And then I do like the expansion of Canada, because I think that's an unbelievable event, same as Civic Center Days. So anything we can do to help promote those as well, that'd be good. Thanks.
Further questions or comments on the report? Councillor Donovan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment, really. With regards to the way signing and that type of programming as well, I think it fits quite nicely under your additional 30 to 40% for marketing and promotional. The wayfinding could be certainly included in that area as well. So we might get more signs than we thought. Looks good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? So I have to agree with the whole marketing angle, because OVTA is taking 50% of the money in marketing. So I guess the question probably everybody has around the table is, how much control do we have over the 50% we're giving them, in terms of, okay, we'd like you to spend that 50% marketing this, marketing that, or do they just take the money and do whatever they want? Or do we sit down and say, okay, wait a minute, this is what we'd like you to do with that money?
So they will bring forward recommendations, very much so on these lines, and it will be at council's discretion to approve what they move forward. So none of that money can be spent on anything besides Petawawa. That's in the initial agreement that was developed. And any projects that move forward through the OVTA will be approved by council here. So they don't have the ability to move forward without the approval.
So in other words, if they come forward with a report, it'll come through you to us. and they say we want to spend 40 grand on a consultant, and we around the table say, well, I think we'd rather see that money spent in a different fashion, and then we send it back and they just have to readjust.
Yeah, and the discussions that I'll have also with the OVTA when we're talking about the marketing, there's certain components that are not in their day-to-day, things like trade shows. They don't have the same knowledge that I would, or Ellie or other staff would, to go to these trade shows. So that's where we're looking at different components. There's not going to be, we're not going to do the same Facebook marketing at the same time, the same online or magazine marketing. There are things in play to make sure that we're not replicating services. The marketing will be done in very, very different ways.
Is there an actual list of acceptable items that they can spend the money on, so that we could have a look at, say, here's what the OVTA can spend this funding on for the town of Petawawa, and it would list, you know, marketing materials, internet, social media. Could they in fact, you know, give one of our staff $2,000 to go to a conference as part of the marketing money that they're spending?
I can probably have a discussion with Melissa at the OVTA to give us a further detailed breakdown of what they're thinking and proposing to do with that. If they're looking at 20,000 out of the potential 100,000, what is the 80, like a defined list of what that 80% or $80,000 is also going to go towards.
And does it have to be spent in that calendar year? Can you put this kind of money into reserve, or do they have to spend their portion?
I think that's a discussion we could have and see what council is comfortable with moving forward with.
And I don't know if we can ask this of them, but I think what council would like to see is for the OVTA to come forward and say, here is our 2026 strategy for marketing for the town of Petawawa using MAT tax funds. And it would detail, here's the 90 or 100,000 that we received, and here's the breakdown and how we would like to spend it on your community.
I can definitely request a presentation for council from the OVTA.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. And could special projects include more lights for the Christmas Trail of Light?
Not for this year. Council has already agreed that the money collected in one year will go to the following years, which has no implication on budget.
Yeah.
It's something, yes, definitely for next year, for 2026, but not for 2025.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I have a motion here, if you're comfortable. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that council endorses and accepts the recommendations of staff and the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association with the respect to the allocation of revenues generated through the municipal accommodation tax, directing that such funds be utilized to support the recommended tourism and recreation related initiatives. So I just want to make sure that what I just read still means that we have administrative control over what the county does. That's okay? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed?
Can I answer that?
You certainly can.
Sorry, I'm just unclear. I think a couple of us talked about reallocating that 30 to 40% of our money away from marketing. Is that what we're voting on as well? Or are we voting on it going towards marketing? Just asking the question that impacts my vote.
Mhm. That's why I asked the question, that what I just read doesn't mean that 20,000 and then all these percentage points, these are just general recommendations. What we're voting on is not 10%, 10%, 10%. The 20,000 is going here. We're just recommending that the MAT tax dollars get used in the purpose they are intended, and we, the council, will decide when these motions come before us.
So the percentages are recommended percentages. If we need to flex them, they're not in stone. Those are just recommended. On average, when I'm looking at my budget, that's about where things are going. So they're recommended. If we go to 2% on here and 18 there, that's fine.
But the list of what he suggested, like the civic center days, that the money will be going there, money will be going to special projects, the money will be going to Canada Day, those listed ones, it's just the percentages may change.
Yeah. Everybody comfortable with that? You want me to read that again?
I'm comfortable.
Everybody's good? Okay, so I'll call for the vote again. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, thanks so much, Colin. Next up, we have planning and development, the monthly activity report. Melanie, thank you for patiently waiting.
I didn't pay enough to get ahead of Colin. So good evening, council. Thank you for entertaining me tonight. I'm normally at the other committee meeting, but you couldn't be here 2 weeks ago. So the monthly report is presented for council's information. Planning applications, status tracker, building permits. We have brought 4 reports to council since the last report: backyard chickens, an official plan amendment, minor variance to committee of adjustments, and a report tonight that I'll talk about in a minute. In section 4, listed beyond normal departmental activities, again, reiterate, we spend a lot of time answering inquiries from members of the public and the development community about things that they can do with property here in Petawawa. That takes the majority of our time. These things are in addition to that kind of normal activity. I will point out one thing. On October 8th, I attended the 2025 Eastern Ontario Housing Summit in Ottawa. I had gone last year as well. So similar message from last year, but just pointed out in the report some of the key takeaways. Housing is a priority of all levels of government. That was a common message. Still struggling with how to make housing affordable for everyone. Discussions on the impacts of the tariff, government changes, federal policy on immigration, how that's all impacting housing demand and supply. Interesting statistics: nationally, housing sales are flat, construction activity is down, and prices are up a little bit, but Eastern Ontario is doing well. Places like the GTA are not doing well. They're losing population. But people are moving to places like Eastern Ontario. And one of the messages was Ottawa can't handle all of the demand for growth, so the rest of Eastern Ontario municipalities are seeing it as well, and I think we see it here in Petawawa. Along that line, a couple of the economists that were at the Housing Summit feel that Eastern Ontario will grow faster than projected by the Ontario Ministry of Finance in their projections. They feel that the projections underestimate people moving within the province to Eastern Ontario, and that's not accurately reflected in the projections that we get. So those projections come to us through the county, and then so the Ministry of Finance has a projection for the county, and then the county allocates growth to the municipalities within the county. So the caution from the economists was plan for higher levels than what is projected. And another interesting fact that was new to me was this population growth outpacing housing demand started back in 2015, 2016. And it was just made worse by the pandemic, but it wasn't caused by the pandemic. The trends were already started. So that was interesting. And I attended a session about new technologies available for small to mid-scale development. So really, how do we get away from wells and septics that require a lot of land? The technology is being used throughout the world on other systems. And actually one company that was there said, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but work in a number of different countries around the world, and Canada's been the slowest to change policy and adopt alternate technologies. So they're working through it all and have some projects coming up in Canada, but interesting to see the technology change that we could be embracing that literally requires a much smaller footprint and allows housing density, allows housing in areas that we can't service with municipal services. So that was very interesting. And just a couple of final points. Transformative change is needed, not incremental change. Underlying all of the need for housing is the need for funding for infrastructure for housing. So that's a universal problem of municipalities is we can build houses, but we don't have the services necessarily for them. So just wanted to point out those key takeaways that I took from the Housing Summit. Active planning applications, just wanted to point out a few of the ones that we completed since last report. So we had a minor variance application come in, that's why it's called new, and be done, all in one reporting cycle. And the Dag and Thompson file, I just wanted to point out that's one the council has seen numerous times for quite a while, and it's complete. So that situation is rectified. And just point out the Winston Avenue site plan the council approved. Just if you haven't driven by, drive by, there's lots of activity going on that site. So it's exciting to see that. Proceed, and happy to answer any questions.
Do you want to do the building report, or is that a separate motion?
No, I can just, Appendix B is the monthly building report. So we're on track to approve similar number of permits as we have the last couple of years, around 300. You can see the various charts. Literally the same number of permits this September as last September, just the values are a little different.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Melanie. Questions on the report? I don't see any, so I need a motion to approve the report. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that the Planning and Development Monthly Activity Report be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And thanks, I know your whole department's been pretty busy the last 4 or 5 months. Is it slowing down somewhat?
Not yet.
Okay, next we have PL-32-2025, the Ontario Land Tribunal e-file registration. Ellen.
Okay, so the Ontario Land Tribunal most recently was, before Ontario Land Tribunal was called the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, or LPAT. And then before that, the Ontario Municipal Board. So just tracking that it's what used to be the OMB is now the OLT. So it's the quasi-judicial body responsible for hearing any appeals to planning application decisions in Ontario. So last March, in March of 2024, they released an online service to manage appeals. So they want to get away from paper and doing all the appeal process through e-file. So they released the service in March of 2024. In December of 2024, they made it mandatory for all municipalities to register, and they've given us some grace to get through the process and transition. Basically, we have to submit a registration form. Approval from council is required to be submitted with that form, saying you're okay with it. And we have to provide copies of our notice templates, so our notice of passing for zoning bylaw, notice of decision for committee of adjustment, notice of refusal to amend the official plan, and notice of refusal to amend the zoning bylaw. So all of that was included in the attachment to this report. And we just require a resolution from council allowing us to actually submit the report and for the mayor and the clerk to sign the application on council's behalf. And so that's what the resolution that we're seeking tonight is, just your permission to go ahead and file this package.
Okay, questions on the report? Okay, if you're comfortable then, I need a motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Roots, that council agrees to receive planning appeals electronically via the Ontario Land Tribunal e-file service, and that council authorizes staff to register the town of Petawawa on the e-file portal. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Melanie. The end of a long day for you. Okay.
Sorry, everyone, but I do have to leave and go back to
Next, we have Economic Development, ED-23-2025, Community Improvement Plan, Legacy Homes, 4 Dorn Road. Colin Howard will be presenting on behalf of 15, who couldn't make it because she's watching the ball game.
Lucky girl. Thank you, Mayor Service. Through you to council, I'll do my best. I'm not Christine, so I'll try to get us through the report. And if there's any questions, I will gladly take them back to Christine and we'll get to the answers following tonight's meeting if there is any. But the report for Christine is the CIP report for Legacy Homes, 4 Doran Road. The recommendation is the council under the community improvement plan adopted by bylaw 144121 enter into a funding agreement with Todd Lance, applicant for the commercial business Legacy Homes located at 4 Doran, permitting a CIP financial incentive of up to $700 for signage improvement grant. So council will recall, I believe a few months back, Christine had brought a similar CIP report for the similar address for signage, I think on his building or building facade it was. Well, now they're now requesting it to claim a portion of the signage base from the existing pylon sign at the site for the other businesses that are located within the property. So utilizing this pylon sign will showcase all the businesses at the property, which is a preferred result for supporting this request. There is sufficient funds in the CIP program remaining in the envelope for 2025. So if council has no other questions, hopefully they can support this recommendation. Happy to take any questions.
Questions from members of council? Great to see more CIP beautifying our town. Okay, I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Coutu, the council under the community improvement plan adopted by bylaw 1441/21 enters into a funding agreement with Todd Lance, applicant for the commercial business the Legacy Homes located at 4 Doran Road, permitting a CIP financial incentive of up to $700 under the signage improvement grant. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have the Legislative Services Monthly Activity Report for September. Colin.
Thank you once again, Mayor Service, through you and to council. Before you is the Legislative Services Report for September. It was another team effort this month between Dawn, Kate, and myself putting it together. And I got drew the lucky straw to deliver it again tonight. So just briefly highlight a few key points within the report under animal control. For the calls of service in the month of September, there was 5 reports of dogs running at large in the areas of Biesenthal Road, Lisa Crescent, Silky Drive, and all the dogs were safely retrieved and transported back to the OSPCA. We had 2 complaints of excessive dog barking on Hoffman and Butler Boulevard. In both cases, the dog owners were spoken to and were issued verbal warnings. Ironically, we had 1 complaint of an unauthorized backyard chicken on Sylvain Drive. More to follow hopefully in October on the report, but our animal control officers attended the scene and unfortunately the homeowner was not there. So they have requested, they left the callback card for further follow-up, and I'm sure they did that in the month of October, and it'd be nice to know what the result of that was. Under parking, there was 13 parking infraction notices, PINs issued in the month of September for violations including parking on or over sidewalks, parking on private property without consent, parking facing the wrong direction, and parking in an accessible space. And I'll just flip over to burning. This was brought up earlier, I believe, and Acting Chief Crew answered a question about warnings and how we go about issuing provincial offensive notices. But there was 2 ponds issued in the month of September on properties in Darwin and Island View Drive, and both were contraventions with setting or allowing a fire to go without a permit. And I'll turn back over to briefly highlight a few of the departmental responsibilities in the month under Human Resources. Jody has done, and a few other staff have completed the recruitment. Beside me here, I introduced last week at last week's meeting, but he's here tonight filling in as our brand new IT services and cloud administrator, Brad Pilo. So he started October the 7th, 6th. Yeah. And we're happy to have him on board. Public administrator position, Dawn's previous role has been permanently filled now by Amanda O'Brien, and she started October the 20th. So we're welcome to have her. She's hit the ground running and doing a fantastic job. Our director of finance position, we're going to be talking about that a little later on. We hope to have that filled as well. And our building inspector closed on October the 17th, and Melanie staff and Jody are currently reviewing the resumes and trying to set up some interviews. We have some good candidates there as well. Under information technologies, we'll have more to report when Brad has more to report on. He's been too busy setting things up and getting things to go. Under commissioner votes, we had 17 requests for the month of September. Under marriage licenses, we had 1 issued for the month and the revenue received for $100. Community flags for the month, we had the child cancer awareness rolling from September the 1st to the 14th. The 15th to the 30th, we had the community flag program, Truth and Reconciliation, flown. And then I have a list of communication and meeting requests that are highlighted within the report. I won't go over every meeting. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer any if council has any, but thank you.
Questions on the report? No questions? And Brad, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you here in the town of Petawawa.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion then to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that the Legislative Services Monthly Activity Report be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. We have nothing for general matters.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do have something for general matters. We have a notice of motion from Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So you'll see in front of you right now, my notice of motion in relation to glyphosate spraying. So I'll speak more to this on November 3rd, but just in general, it's a motion that reflects the municipality's limited ability to do anything about glyphosate spraying, especially in Crown land. But what we do have the ability to do is be a voice for our residents who have these concerns about this chemical being sprayed for forestry use. So you'll just see in the motion what I'm asking for. It's not very major, but just calling on those with the power to do something with it and to look at the unacceptable risks that this practice poses, and that's the limit of it. So I'll speak more about this on the 3rd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We do have a closed meeting, so I need a motion to go into closed. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that this meeting be closed pursuant to section 239, paragraph 2, paragraph B and D of the Municipal Act 2001 S.O.2001 C.25 to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees and labor relations or employee negotiations regarding the recruitment process for the position of Director of Finance. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. I guess we can just stay here. Huh?
Not really.
Oh, that's right.
Brad will be back. Or on silent.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We just had a closed session meeting. We'll just report on the business arising from closed session. A closed meeting was held. Council discussed the recruitment process for the position of Director of Finance and voted on the following motion. Or we need to vote on the following motion, sorry. So the motion is that Megan O'Quinn be hired as Director of Finance Treasurer effective December 8th, 2025. I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that Megan O'Quinn be hired as Director of Finance Treasurer effective December 8th, 2025. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Roots, that the meeting be adjourned at the call of the mayor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Very productive meeting.
Yes, totally.
Good meeting.
Chickens,
Director of Finance.
Congrats, Colin.
Well, yes, everybody.
I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your team.